At the end of the day, it's very important to have policies that are based on facts and figures. And as a development economist, I have been able to see that a lot of the times, mainly because official statistics are not properly funded. The policies that are being implemented don't exactly reflect what is on ground. And more work needs to be done to make sure that we have at least more funding for statistics so that evidence-based policymaking can be rolled out.
Let's get into unemployment real quick to understand what's playing out. According to the data released and the rebasing and all of that, unemployment, the figures are said to be low. But you can see the number of unemployed persons or underemployed persons who constantly echo what difficulties they're going through. There is a perception that economic growth has been achieved so far. And even, the projections given by the World Bank, the projections for 2026 at 4.2%. But then, in reality, poverty is rising, cost of living remains high, more Nigerians appear to be struggling daily. And, it makes you wonder if over 100 million Nigerians are said to be living in poverty, where are we getting it wrong? I mean, before the start of this administration, there was word around a census to be conducted, and we know, and the government has often reiterated the same thing, that once the numbers are known, it's easier to plan with numbers. But then, when it's not certain who you're planning for, those plans do not exactly materialize in the way that you expect them to. So, why are things the way they are? If we know what to do, but are not exactly doing it in the right way.
Honestly, it all boils down to money. Statistics are expensive. Doing surveys, doing censuses are very expensive. And a census is one of the most expensive surveys that any country can do. And that is why usually they're supposed to be done every 10 years. In Nigeria's case, there has not been any census since 2006.
That's 20 years.
That's 20 years. So we don't even know exactly how many people live inside Nigeria. There are other surveys that are done by NBS, the National Bureau of Statistics, and then other agencies as well. But they don't really give the full picture of what we need because censuses are more, all-encompassing. And the issue also is that because the NBS is underfunded by government, they have to rely on donors to get a lot of their works done. But donors come with their own agenda. So if a donor is coming and they say that they want health statistics, maybe on Kano State, it's very limited to that specific region. And so it doesn't really capture all of the necessary information for the country. So it's kind of like policies are, the best way I can illustrate it is as if you're just throwing money into the air and hoping that it lands somewhere fruitful. So when you don't have the right statistics and you don't have enough money to fund what is actually needed for this evidence-based policy making, you're really just kind of doing guesswork. And I think that's kind of what we are seeing today.
Now, you're giving us insight into the fact that these data gaps we're seeing are due to capacity limitations. But then again, in this day and age, it should be easy to, using technology, know the number of people who are living in a particular location or a particular district or state or the country as a whole. Might not be as easy, but then it's achievable. If in 20 years we have estimated to have grown to about 230 million, that's a lot of people, in one country. But then it always seems as though Nigerians are not benefiting from policies. And when these policies fail, it feels like their contributions or their needs were not taken into consideration as well. How can we, while waiting for this census to happen, only heaven knows when that will be, ensure that decisions are beneficial to the people who it's made for?
So there are, like you said, there are kind of some stopgaps that can be used in the meantime. And we see it in a lot of countries as well, African countries, with the emergence of big data. So a lot of countries are also partnering with the private sector. For example, you can partner with the telecom sector and get, the amount of registered telephone users in a state, for example. MTN can tell you how many subscribers they have in that region, for example. So there are partnerships that can be done with the private sector to get, a kind of better estimates. But a lot of it also is related to legal aspects, right? There are a lot of difficulties in terms of legal frameworks that govern these things. So Nigeria, as of now, does not really have like a full, robust legal framework for private partnerships and big data and all of those things. So that can also be a bit of a hindrance. But in the meantime, there are things that can be done. Like I said, if the government is willing to take that step, right? None of these challenges that we are seeing today are insurmountable. Legal frameworks are very easy to implement once you have the wherewithal,
the willpower,
the
maybe?
willpower, yes, to do so. But also, what I find is that a lot of times the government doesn't understand the importance of it, which is why they don't look into the funding or even trying to reach out to create those partnerships. So I think there also needs to be more advocacy and awareness about the importance of true evidence-based policymaking. Because now, what you also see is that we collect data from like IMF, World Bank, people who are exterior and who don't really have, number one, the best interests of Africans at heart, and also who are not.
Is that really the case? Would you say that these persons or these groups, organizations that recommend and advise Nigeria in this context on what steps to take, what options to consider, do not have the best interests of the country at heart? Because we've seen the government take the advice. I mean, one of which was the removal of subsidy. And we see how that has gone on to affect everything else 3 years down the line. But then they've also come back to say, this is what you should do. Maybe work on rural infrastructure, one of the recommendations in recent times, to cushion the effects. And also provide subsidy palliatives as a cushion as well. Exactly. So would you say that with all of these options and advice and recommendations, if given over time, they do not have the best interest of Nigeria at heart?
I'm not saying that all.
Okay.
Yes, it wasn't a blanket statement. I'm just saying that in some cases, yes, there are some instances where certain countries or certain institutions have their own agenda when they're advising, African countries. So yeah, it's not a blanket statement. But even going to what you pointed out, the fuel subsidy, I feel like a lot of the recommendations that are coming now are medicine after death. If proper research was done, if proper even surveys and more like going back to evidence-based policymaking was done before the removal of the subsidy, there would have been less of a shock to the economic system of Nigeria when it was implemented.
Now, there's a growing trust in official statistics released by the government, one of which will be the inflation rate, right? And there was a rebasing, and then we saw it drop drastically to about 15% or thereabout, and it's still, going lower. Per the government's, constant updating of what's playing out with food inflation and all of that. But we see that there is no improvement in the lives of the people. And for the average person, they want to see how their lives would change or how it has changed per the improvement in the economics of the country. How dangerous is that for governance and reform if the numbers you're giving do not match the lifestyle of the people you're leading?
So there's two things here. One, I will say that the statistics are reliable that are coming out from NBS. However, Nigerians sometimes are their own problem. When, for example, the price of the naira stabilized, in essence, there are certain goods and commodities the prices should have dropped for, right? But when you go to markets, you'll see sellers say, well, I bought it at this price when the naira was at this rate. So they don't want to bring it down to the price that it should be because they want to recoup their costs, right?
But can you really blame them?
I mean, no,
Because they would sell at a loss, no?
Yes, but that's it happens. It's kind of inevitable because this is a dynamic economy. Things are changing every day. As you see, we're not in an economy where, where prices are more fixed or stable. Our currency is still a bit floating, trying to find its footing. So, of course, prices will naturally increase and decrease. But at the same time, I think we should also be a bit, empathetic to ourselves, and help each other, because we're all in this together, So when people are buying goods, I understand that, of course, some vendors will incur a loss, but at the same time, it would be good to also try and...
So without credible data, how can Nigerians effectively hold the government accountable if they're doubting every figure released by the government or various organizations in the country? How can they hold the government accountable? How are they measuring what has changed and what has stayed the same?
So credible data, of course, is very important. And I'm not saying that the data now is not credible. I think MBS has done quite a good amount of work to put out reliable data to the best of their ability. But they are still underfunded. So that is the issue, right? But I think we can take at face value what is being given. But also I think that Nigerians a lot of them aren't really aware, or maybe don't have much of an interest in the statistics that are being brought out. I think there also needs to be more of a campaign on sensitization on the importance of statistics and how it can help to hold our leaders accountable. So even in the storytelling, in the way that it is being portrayed to the public, if it is broken down in its most simplest form, so that everyone can understand, even have it broken down into different local languages, so that people can understand. And then also they can now take that back to their leaders, their legislatures, and hold them accountable.
Well, I'd like to, have you give a true nature of what the numbers are right now. We'll go on a quick breather. When we come back, you're the numbers expert, so maybe you would help us know what the actual set of things are right now in Nigeria. They're all stay tuned.
Right after this.
last and it defines scatter.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. It's 8:31 a.m. right here, and we're still looking at why policies don't match reality, focusing on Nigeria's data gap. My guest, who is a development economist, Honorable Sarah Ivie Adidi, is trying to give us a bit of understanding as to why things are the way they are. And let's jump right into the poverty rate in the country real quick. It stands at about 63%. That's a lot of Nigerians.
It is.
How would you define poverty?
So the official definition of poverty is anyone who is living on, I think it's about $1.25 or below per day. And so based on that, 64% of Nigerians are living under that.
And the dollar right now is about 1,390 something?
Yeah, but let's just say 1,400.
1,400?
Yes.
What can you purchase for 1,400?
Not much. Truly not much in today's Nigeria.
Is that a true representation or reflection of what the poverty rate is in Nigeria? That figure, that number?
I would say so. And I think, to be honest, it might even be higher. But I think based on the figures that we have, I think that is it. The best estimate.
If it's higher than that, that's almost everyone. That's almost everyone but those who are in the political class.
Oh. Yeah, it is. It's quite a large number. We have seen that poverty rates have risen in the past few years.
So let's get to a quick solution regarding that. How would you say, or what would you say, would be a path towards tackling in record time the percentage of Nigerians who are poor and reducing it drastically? Would there be a clean cut path towards achieving that?
Poverty is multidimensional, so it can never really be a clear-cut path. There are several instances, I will say several pathways to reducing poverty. We are not typically a welfare state. You know, there are a lot of other countries, even in Africa, not just talking about the West, that give support for the underprivileged, the less advantaged through social welfare systems. And that's not something that we really do here.
No, we have the ministry that handles that.
We do. I'm not well versed in how much they are funded or their programs. But I think, of course, that is something that they should be able to tackle under their ministry as part of their mandate. Hopefully, we can see a bit more of their efforts in the coming months, because, like you said, this is the poverty rate is quite high in the country. But social welfare systems that help the most vulnerable groups. For example, we see that women, persons with disabilities, people who are not necessarily part of the mainstream labor market, a lot of times are overwhelmingly represented in the poverty statistics. So if policies or systems can be done to kind of address those people, give them empowerment schemes, give them subsidies when they're starting small or medium-sized enterprises, things like that can always go a very long way into alleviating the poverty rate.
Let's get into something real quick. If you had to prioritize or give advice or recommendations on what should be prioritized, what are maybe three top reforms that Nigeria needs to fix its data ecosystem, which would in turn translate into directly affecting the lives of the average person?
Okay. So first, I would say that more money needs to go into official statistics because it's very important that we know exactly who we have, what needs to be done, and who are affected by the policies. So first and foremost, I would say more funding there and more funding, especially towards their infrastructure, because there are a lot of things that can be done, like even like the purchasing of high volume, stronger equipment that would allow the NBS to process to process large volumes of data. That can be done without an overwhelming amount of money. So just, purchase of maybe 5 to 10, for example, large volume, high capacity systems that would help them. And then also funding more surveys that are relevant to the country and to the census as well. And that I think is the biggest starting point. Once you get the global picture of the realities of Nigeria, it's then easier to now define your priorities and build a roadmap that is as effective as possible.
So if you understand clearly right now, it's not that the policies put forward are terrible or bad. Mm-hmm. It's prioritizing what is most important to the average person. And the only way that can be done is if the data is gotten right.
Exactly.
Huh. Okay, so quick one. Mm-hmm. What would a Nigeria with strong, reliable data look like in practical terms?
Nigeria has everything that it needs to succeed. We have the capacity, we have the people, we have the brain power. So a Nigeria with relevant data, accurate data can go very far. It would be, first of all, we would have the right policies that are needed. We would also have a more prosperous nation. We would also have a more transparent government because we'd be able to accurately hold our leaders accountable. We can be able to see what our legislators and our government has been able to do from the time they entered office until the time they leave. And it also would empower its citizens and give us more of a voice, even at the polling booth.
We've got some time for quick questions. We'll go to the phone lines quickly, 45 seconds if you get through on the phone lines, or WhatsApp, 080-999-30137. That's the WhatsApp number. You can call that number as well, or call 0700-951-0000 and 080-9597-4869. Once you get through, you have 45 seconds, so put your thoughts together in that time frame. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, sir.
My name is Mr. Adola Victor from Visa Life.
Go ahead.
You see, Nigeria is a blessed country, but unfortunately, Nigeria is one of the countries that is highly poverty-stricken. Looking at the number, look at the 60-something percentage poverty rate in this country. You see, and government are trying to put in place some pushing effect, especially the establishment of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and poverty reduction. And some state governors too are putting in place such ministries. Then we have been seeing government appointing more money to the state. And you see the poverty level is still rising. And some people believe that this money going to this ministry at the federal level and the state level are based upon. Do you think government is sincere, or the subnational government are sincere with the Nigerian citizens?
All right. Thank you, Adiola. We'll get to you next. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah, my name is Jamilu Utako.
Go ahead, Jamilu.
I want to make use of this opportunity to welcome your guest. She's such a wonderful person. We learn a lot from her. And she's the kind of person Nigerian wants to at least be taught, consider people will gain from her a lot. And one thing I want is that she said that most of advice we have from the foreign, like the World Bank and other countries, and the implementation with it is medicine after death, which is true. I agree with her. Because when you look at the situation we find ourselves, you don't see the reason that in some group of people say they have to remove subsidy from the people for government to survive. And if there is no subsidy, what is the essence of government for the people? Because I did my research, there is no any country that developed that is not subsidizing to the people. Then why is Nigerian case different? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your thoughts. So we have a few minutes to wrap this up. Would you like to respond to any of the concerns that they have, brought up so far?
The first comment, sir.
So what he said, in summary, is Nigeria has all it takes, but no sincerity of purpose, is what, he pointed out.
Yes. And I think also it boils down to us as citizens. A lot of us have become very apathetic. We have kind of, I don't want to say lost hope, but many of Nigerians don't feel that it can improve. And so I think that my call to Nigerians today is not to give up on our nation. We have to get involved. We have to become interested in data and statistics, in the way our government is being run, in order for things to change, in order for us to really see improvement, because truly this is the only home we have. So it's important for all of us to get involved.
And to get your closing thoughts, if Nigeria gets its data right, how quickly could citizens begin to feel the difference in their daily lives?
I'm not sure if I can put a time limit. I can't say in 1 month or 2 months or anything like that. But I think that in the medium term, I would say maybe in a couple of years, we can be able to see actual tangible improvements in the economy.
Thank you so much, Honorable Sarah Ivie Adidi. She is a development economist. It's been good having this conversation with you and, getting insights into how things can be done differently for the people to enjoy the dividends of democracy. We'll bring you back again and have even more conversations. Do all to have a good day and a nice week ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.